Hello everybody and welcome to this Thursday edition of Inside Africa. Nigerians have expressed mixed feelings after the re-election of Barack Obama as President of the United States. Let's find out what they had to say in the following reports.
Nigerians expressed mixed feelings on Wednesday after President Barack Obama's emphatic re-election win over Mitt Romney. As celebrations continued in the United States, residents in Nigeria's commercial city of Lagos went about their daily activities. Bono Jimo, tax manager at a bank, said the win came as a surprise to him.
Well, I'm really happy for him because I did not think he was going to win, based on the fact that Romney did put in quite a shift towards the tail end of the campaigning. I'm happy for him as a black person. I'm happy that he was given a second chance, and I'm hoping that the next 4 years will avail him the opportunity to fulfill some of his earlier promises.
While the win was a surprise for some, Paul Young says he was convinced Obama would secure a second term in the White House.
Well, from the outset, when I watched all the interviews and all, I had very strong conviction that it was going to be Obama. Even during the debates, I just knew deep within that Obama was going to win it. I really believe in him as an African too. I really don't like, not like I have anything against Romney, but I just have so much faith in Obama.
The majority of Nigerians don't feel President Obama's win will affect them in any way, owing to the pressing issues of security and underdevelopment facing millions across the country. Obama, America's first black president, won by convincing voters to stick with him as he tries to reignite strong economic growth and recover from the worst recession since the Great Depression of the 1930s.
The Ghanaian government has reaffirmed its commitment to ensuring that the Ghana Youth Employment and Entrepreneurial Development Agency, formerly known as the National Youth Employment Program, is provided with adequate resources to facilitate the recruitment and training of more youth. According to the Deputy Northern Regional Minister, San Nasomo Asabigi, the move will correct the nation that the notion that only party youth are benefiting from the program. Mr. Asabigi was addressing graduates of the JIDA ICT module in Tamale in the northern region.
Youth Employment and Entrepreneurial Development Agency, JEDA, and RLG Communications Industry, under its Institute of Technology, organized the training program for the graduates. 1,000 beneficiaries from Gambaga, Damongo, Salaga, Yendi, and Tamale benefited from the 6-month training program. The training program brings to 24,000 the number of youth trained under the module in the third contract between ROG Communications and the JEDA program. Addressing the graduates, the Deputy Northern Regional Minister, Mr. San Nasomo Asabigi, said the beneficiary youth are expected to be trained in a wide range of areas related to ICT, including mobile phone and computer assembling and repairs, entrepreneurial skills, amongst others.
You want to build a business and you meet all kinds of obstacles and all kinds of failures, and you tell yourself that I am going to build on those experiences that I had that did not allow me to build my business, and I will succeed. And indeed, if you try harder, you will always succeed.
The head of training of RLG Communications, Isaac Appiah, reiterated RLG's commitment to partner government on the project. Mr. Appiah also explained that there are over 200 beneficiaries nationwide who are serving the nation and beyond. The Yendi Municipal Chief Executive, Issa Zakaria, said it is government's avowed aim to reduce or completely eliminate youth unemployment.
The Musician Union of Ghana, Musica, has lauded the decision of members of the Ghana Music Awards in Europe to include the union in this year's award ceremony. The award ceremony, which seeks to create a platform for Ghanaian films music to be showcased both locally and internationally, will be held on the 24th of November this year in London.
Ceremony in Accra to sign the agreement, the president of Musica, Bias Osekufo, expressed his joy at the agreement, saying the decision to collaborate with Musica to promote Ghanaian music has come at an opportune time. Other dignitaries present were some national executives of Musica, as well as some nominees of this year's GMA Europe. As part of the agreement, a special category is to be created to recognize Musica's most outstanding artist of the year. This year's Lifetime Achievement Award will go to Ghana's legendary high life musician, Daniel Amachi Dede, for his efforts in promoting Ghanaian music. Invited performers for the awards will include Asam, Tiffany, Sway, George Darko, and Charles Amoa.
Now, 1/3 of Ugandan children below the age of 5 have been found to be stunted. The 2011 Annual Demographic and Health Survey also reveals that a woman in Uganda produces 6 children on average. The information was revealed by the Uganda Bureau of Statistics on Wednesday.
The survey that was conducted in more than 10,000 randomly selected households revealed that the highest percentage of children happened to be too short for their age, 36% coming from Kayunga, Chivoga, Chankwanzi, Luwero, Mubende, Mitiana, Mukono, Buyikwe, Buvuma, Nakasongola and Nakaseke districts, although the percentage of stunted children in Kampala declined last year.
Stunting among children comes as a result of poor feeding practices, giving your children foods that are not of a balanced diet causes your children not to get all the nutrients that they require in their life, and therefore affects their height and the weight that they gain.
At a rate of 18%, a rise in teenage motherhood was noted, showing greater levels of fertility among women in Uganda.
Has increased in Kampala from 14% to 22%, while in the other regions of Central 1 and Central 2, the teenage pregnancy is actually going down. So we think that teenage pregnancy has increased in Kampala probably because of the migration effect.
Fertility was registered highest in the eastern region, with an average woman producing almost 8 children. Although diseases such as malaria and diarrhea are being steadily controlled, the report indicated that gender-based violence in form of physical and sexual abuse remains common.
In Central 2, we had 50% of the women reporting violence, and then in Central 1, about 4 in every 10 reported having suffered from violence, and in Kampala it was also about half of the women reporting violence.
Still in Uganda, President Yoweri Museveni has given the United Nations an ultimatum of up to the 15th of this month to withdraw its report on Uganda's alleged involvement in the Eastern Congo region. The president made the announcement while addressing NRM members at State House Entebbe.
President Museveni finally broke his silence over the UN report implicating Uganda and Rwanda in the Congo crisis. Yesterday, while meeting the NRM members during the party caucus at State House in Entebbe, the president for the first time rubbished the report and further issued an ultimatum, as the NRM caucus vice chairperson explains.
Amateurs involved in writing this report, in investigations, that actually the report we can sum it as a heap of malignment.
According to NRM caucus vice chairperson David Bahati, the president's argument was based on Uganda's peace initiatives in Africa.
The president is still committed to the peace initiatives in the region on the condition that the UN stops maligning our country. The UN recognizes the risk that we have taken in that country and also in other countries. And we hope that when the Security Council considers the report on the 15th of this month, that issue will be sorted out.
Uganda is the current chair of the International Conference on the Great Lakes region, and President Museveni is leading a mediation effort for DR Congo. Uganda's Minister for ICT Ruhakana Rugunda is already in New York, where he met the Deputy Secretary General and ambassadors from the 15-member UN Security Council to express outrage at the report. Meanwhile, during the caucus, the president also harmonized his position with the NRM legislators regarding their position in the oil bills. The party is in agreement that the ministry should have control over the licensing of oil companies and that an oil company should be established instead of a cooperative. NRM also supports proposals that waste management be handled by a separate company.
Leaving Uganda, we take you to Kenya, where the police top command has warned junior officers engaged in a one-week go-slow that they risk losing their jobs. The section of police officers have boycotted work, demanding increase in wages.
The growing disquiet in the rank and file of the 60,000-strong police force appears to be sending jitters at the helm of the police service. Police headquarters has finally spoken out on the growing grumbling that threatens security in the country.
Sisi tumechukua oath ya kukosa kufanya mgomo na kusavu wa Kenya wote, na hatuwezi kufanya. Na askari yoyote atafanya mgomo ataweza kufutwa kazi, kwa sababu sheria yetu haikubali na hatuwezi cheza na security ya watu wa Kenya.
The pronouncement from Vigilance House came just hours after administration police officers in Kisumu paralyzed banking operations when they failed to show up at banking halls. The Provincial Police Command was forced to ferry another group of police officers to keep an eye on banks that have mostly taken a beating from a growing police go-slow that has now lasted for more than 5 days. Kilometers away in Bungoma, reports indicated that some administration police officers had failed to show up for normal duties. Their seniors were at pains explaining why it had taken long for some of them to be deployed at banking halls. On Friday, the government announced that Treasury had released a staggering 3.7 billion shillings as allowances and salaries for the police officers, that translated to a paltry pay hike of 8.5 billion shillings, way too low than the negotiated 28% increase. Well-placed sources have told KTN that junior police officers have continued jamming police communication systems, with the latest threats being made on traffic police officers who have continued turning up for duties despite the growing disquiet. For now, the government is putting on a brave face. All is well.
Bringing you more news from Kenya, a delay in the arrival of the biometric voter registration BVR kits has forced the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission (IEBC) to further delay the starting day of voter registration pending training of registration clerks. The Commission's Voter Registration and Electoral Operations Director Immaculate Kasait said the IEBC chairman will announce the commencement date of the registration exercise once the 30,000 clerks have been trained on how to register voters using the kit. The commissioners were speaking during a registration demo showing how the kits operate at the Moa International Sports Center, Kasarani.
IEBC was expecting the biometric voter registration kits to arrive on the 25th of October. Instead, they arrived last weekend. The Commission, however, says all is not lost. It will still deliver a credible voter register without locking anyone out within the remaining time. With the arrival of the much-awaited BVR kits, IEBC hit the ground running, and training of trainers is now going on in 7 different locations across the country. This is one such training center, the Moa International Sports Center, Kasarani. Safran Mofo, the supplier of the kits, is in charge of the training of trainers training. 1,000 trainers are now in class. They shall in turn train 29,000 clerks, an exercise that is expected to begin on the 12th of November and end on the 17th of November.
Every single person, the 30,000 of them that you deploy for purposes of actually conducting voter registration, must be familiar with technology. It's not one of those issues that you would sit in a lecture hall and give a lecture and assume that everybody has understood. You must have an assessment of every single clerk.
To register, a voter shall be required to present an ID or passport to the clerk. The clerk then captures the identity details, which the voter is required to confirm. Afterwards, the clerk will ask the voter to place the 4 fingers of his or her left hand on the fingerprint reader and thereafter the right hand.
And for us to know who you are, we don't so much rely on the identification documents that we are using. We are relying on your fingerprints. If an applicant for registration shows up at a registration center and they either don't have fingers, or their fingers are damaged, or they are poor quality, especially in the farms where people do a lot of manual work, we then mark on the corresponding box where that finger is supposed to be, we mark it either as missing, damaged, or bandaged. And so when you place your fingers on the fingerprint scanner, the system already knows that one finger and this particular finger on this hand is missing, and therefore it will accept the remaining fingers.
After the 8 fingers, the voter will then be required to place the 2 thumbs on the fingerprint reader. The voter will then have his or her passport size photo taken and then finally sign the IEBC reference book and take registration slip. However, the registration slip will not be required on the voting day.
On election day, we are going to extract the registers by electoral area, and electoral area means polling station, onto another device, which is also based on the same or similar technology of EFIS for the purpose of checking in or authenticating voters at every polling station, and each station will have that device.
Knowing the tough terrain and the power supply challenges in Kenya's rural areas, the kits have been fitted with 2 rechargeable batteries accompanied with 2 solar panels. In addition, the Commission assures that the entire system is tamper-proof and data cannot be lost even if a clerk makes an error.
For you to be able to hack a system, you must have access to the system. And you can either have physical access, in which case I grab this box, then I try to run those hacking tools against the database. Or I must have logical access to the system. To gain logical access to the system, you have to have some connectivity. And there is no connectivity on this system. It's a standalone operation. Even if you succeeded in grabbing this box and the data is still intact, that data is encrypted.
The Commission has 30 days to register voters, but when will that crucial exercise begin?
After the end of the training, the chair of the Commission will be able to tell when the voter registration commences.
The families of Egyptian nationals detained in Saudi Arabia have erected tents outside the Saudi embassy in Egypt. They have announced an open-ended sit-in in an attempt to pressure Saudi authorities to release their family members who they claim have been subjected to unlawful imprisonment and torture.
In Cairo, family members being detained in Saudi prisons. The families that rallied are complaining that their loved ones are being held for years in the Saudi monarch pending some
detained in neither a charge nor a trial or anything. Undercover agents arrested him at work without issuing him for nothing.
Several previous demonstrations were staged outside. Perhaps the most case that got publicity was that of lawyer Ahmed Gizawi, who was arrested in Jeddah airport on alleged drug charges. His temporary ouster of the Saudi. Many felt that it was the time to bring the issue of detention of Egyptians as well as the miscarriage of justice in Saudi courts.
My son has been detained in Al-Khaj prison unlawfully, to extreme torture. As a consequence, he lost his eyesight and is suffering from diabetes.
The protesters also called on the Egyptian Foreign Ministry to take action. The ministry has remained silent for the most part regarding this issue.
Well, that's how we saw it on this edition of Inside Africa. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for more news on AFRIQUE Media.